Good morning, Delaware. It is a beautiful Friday morning here in Delaware. Just great driving in this morning, seeing that nice blue sunshine. It felt really great.
It's going to be such a good day.
Yes. How you doing, Nicole?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. This afternoon is the open house and the grand opening of the Main Street Delaware Welcome Center.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm very much looking forward to that. So it's going to be a good day.
That's great. Well, that's Gage Tellis behind the board. Good morning, Gage.
Good morning, everyone.
And our guest today is Jill Rinker from Sourcepoint. Jill's going to be talking about some programs that she's going to be doing at our Orange Branch Library in August on making sense of Medicare. And we were talking before the show, and I said, we timed this really well because in about 2 weeks, I'm going to have to start making sense of Medicare myself. So
you might be there.
Well, the thing is that we were talking about how all of these decisions you have to make when you retire. And one of the reasons I'm retiring is because I'm having trouble making decisions.
You're going to make them now while you can.
Yeah, right. So anyway, welcome, Jill. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're delighted that you're going to not only here on the show, but you're going to be doing these programs for us at Orange. But I got to tell you, this week, Donna Myers from the Historical Society.
Love Donna.
I do too. She reposted something on Facebook that I absolutely loved. This is, how you say you can't judge a book by its cover?
Right.
Well, you can't judge a book by its cover because they put blurbs on the cover.
Oh, sure.
All right? Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to interpret those blurbs to know what you're going to be reading, right?
It takes a master's degree.
So this is a glossary of terms that you need to know if you want to actually understand what those blurbs are saying. So if the book says it's enchanting, it means there's a dog in it. If it's heartwarming, there's a dog and a child.
Ooh.
However, if it says moving, that means the child dies.
Ouch.
If it's heartrending, that means the dog dies.
That's the worst, yeah.
If it's thoughtful, mind-numbingly tedious.
Right, yeah. I don't want to think when I read sometimes.
Yep, right. Epic. It says here, editor has been cowed by the author's reputation. It can also mean doorstop.
Yeah, I was saying epic is definitely like a 900-page book that spans the generations of 7 different families. Yeah, can't do it.
Yeah, no good. From the pen of a master, same old, same old.
We don't really know what to say about this guy.
Or in the tradition of, means shamelessly derivative. Spare and taught, under-researched. Richly detailed, over-researched. Disturbing means that the author is absolutely bonkers.
Really, really, really.
Stellar means that the author is young and photogenic. It's classic if the author is hanging in there, and it's vintage if the author is past it.
They're gone.
So anyway, that are some tips on how to use blurbs from Donna Myers. Thank you, and thank you for giving me permission to steal what you put up there, Donna. So, Nicole, what mind-numbingly tedious book have you been reading?
Yes, I have been reading a richly detailed book, which, if you remember just from a moment ago, is over-researched. My book club this week picked up or discussed The King's Shadow, Obsession, Betrayal, and the Deadly Quest for the Lost City of Alexandria. Ooh. It's written by Edmund Richardson, and it was just published this year in April of 2022. It has a really good blurb, is what I'll say about this book. The blurb is basically, for centuries, the city of Alexandria beneath the mountains was kind of this unknown, utopic kind of setting of where East met West, and it got lost. It got lost in the Middle East. It vanished in 1833. It was discovered in Afghanistan by the unlikeliest person imaginable. And then it goes on to talk about this man who discovered it. It's a really cool, true story. My book club picked this up because it was nonfiction. We decided we would have a nonfiction specific meeting, and this one won the poll. We have a very democratic system, and so it won the poll. But I will say that to my taste of nonfiction writing, which is things like Eric Larson and Robert Kurson and Mary Roach, it didn't quite have their speed and their punchiness, and it didn't quite have their narrative storytelling. What happened a lot in this book was Edmund Richardson would use a lot of primary sources, and he would quote them beautifully, but then he would kind of throw in his 2022 banter, and so it was a little bit jarring when it went back and forth between the two. But here's the basic story. So British explorer John Lewis was a member of the East India Company. And if you know anything about that in 1833 or 1820s, it's gruesome and brutal and pretty awful in every way possible. He's in India, and he abandons the East India Trading Company. He wakes up one morning, he says, "I'm done." He walks away. The East India Trading Company did not take well to that, and anyone who was considered a deserter was basically hunted after for the rest of their life. It wasn't a forgotten thing. It was very much remembered. So he basically becomes this chameleon of whoever he wants to be. He travels from city to city to city. He makes up different names everywhere he goes. He's a doctor in one city. He's a other just kind of traveler in another city. And then in one city, he takes up this personality of an archaeologist, and that seems to be the one that sticks with him.
Wow.
Mind you, he's
This
in the
sounds
middle.
like a Netflix series.
It could get there. Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely could get there. He is a British man who is white-skinned and red-haired. So he didn't really fit in very
No.
well among the locals. And so when he tried to pass himself off as a local, I mean, it took a lot. Whenever he finally found this kind of like archaeology path that he went on, he was really good at it, and he was doing a lot of the right things. He was making friends with the right people. I mean, he was friends with Maharajas and all these other kind of princes and people of power in these cities, and he was doing archaeology right for 1833 standards.
Right.
We know better now. But he was doing archaeology right. Because at the time, they were saying, you know, oh, somebody found something, and so he took a bunch of TNT to it and blew it up, and then he got where he wanted to go. and in the meantime, John Lewis, who had changed his name to Charles Masson, Charles Masson was using, pitchforks instead.
Okay.
He was finding coin after coin after coin. And the thing that was fascinating to him is that he knew that Alexander the Great had been through that area. And so he was looking for a lot of Greek heritage and Greek things. And what he was finding was coins that on one side had Greek writing and on the other side would have had, Eastern writing on it. He also would find things that the most famous thing that he found was called the Bimarian casket. It was a first century bejeweled thing engraved with the very earliest datable image of the Buddha. But the fascinating thing about it was the Buddha is in the middle, flanked on one side with a Hindu god, flanked on the other side with I want to say a Greek god. And so it's just this very interesting thing that he found out about this area. So he goes on and on. He finds all these wonderful things, is sending them back to the, he makes a mistake though. He thinks that he's so well in his Charles Masson, not John Lewis, that he starts corresponding with Britain and saying like, you might want these because I could make money and I can send these things back to you. They figure out who he is. So when they figure out who he is, basically one of the deserter trackers from the East India Trading Company basically writes him and says, we've got you. So now you're going to spy for us because you have all these connections. And so that is the beginning of his demise. It basically, he loses all his friends because spying wasn't really spying as we think of like 007. Spying was, you're going to tell us what all these people are doing so that eventually we can be Imperial Britain and we can colonize, India as we want to. And so he starts spying. Things just keep going downhill. Eventually, he's more officially a prisoner of the East India Trading Company. And eventually, he really loses all of his money, all of the things that he's found. They are all claimed by Britain. He goes back home and just kind of trickles back into the landscape of Britain. Wow. It's a really, really sad story for what happens to him, for the amazing things that he discovered. He had a really cool story, and I guess it's really nice that Edmund Richardson did bring it to light in The King's Shadow. But it's a little bit kind of sad.
Yeah, but the adventures that this guy went through and the way he got to that point, fascinating. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Great. And tell us again the title and the author.
Yes, it's The King's Shadow, Obsession, Betrayal, and the Deadly Quest for the Lost City of Alexandria, and it's written by Edmund Richardson.
Great. So this, you might remember a couple of weeks ago, I reviewed a book called Fakers, An Insider's Guide to Cons, Hoaxes, and Scams by H.P. Wood. And it was a book intended for high school and college students, basically, that talks about the history of con artists and scammers and gets into online scams and everything as well. And I noticed in the biographical note that she had written a novel earlier. And so I went out and tracked it down, and I'm glad I did. It was called Magruder's Curiosity Cabinet. It's available from us in regular or large print. It's available on Hoopla as an ebook or an audiobook, and it's also available on Libby as an ebook. So it's widely available. So Magruder's Curiosity Cabinet is actually not a cabinet like you'd think of it today, but it is an old house on Coney Island that has been converted into sort of a sideshow attraction. So there are lots of peculiarities that are kept there, okay? So there's a flea circus. There is a robot. Now, this is set in the early 1900s, like 1906. So there's a mechanical drawer. It's an artist sort of thing. And so Coney Island is just now becoming kind of a tourist attraction because the automobiles there, the subway, things like that, you can get to Coney Island, which you couldn't. It was really pretty remote before that. So all of this is growing up as an amusement park, and it's starting to try to get a little respectability. This family, the Reynolds family, owns a huge portion of it, including Dreamland, which is one of the early amusement parks out there. And they're trying to kind of clean out some of the disreputable sideshows and that sort of thing, such as Magruder's Curiosity Cabinet. So the Curiosity Cabinet is owned by this reclusive mad scientist inventor who's turned the operation of the attraction over to Zeph, who is an African-American who's lost his legs in a farming accident. He spent some time on a sideshow as kind of they just really exploited him. And finally he hooks up with the professor who owns this thing and actually is his right-hand man. As a result, he shows a lot of empathy for the other unusuals, as they call them in the sideshows. This is like the tallest man and the bearded lady and things like that. And they refer to people who are not unusual as the dozens in Their Kind or a Dime a Dozen. So anyway, what happens then is as Coney Island is starting to grow, a plague occurs. Now, there was no plague on Coney Island historically. But in San Francisco and Honolulu, bubonic plague happened in this time period.
Oh, okay.
So this is sort of an extrapolation on what would have happened if it had happened there. And it's fascinating. It really gets into the whole what it takes to run a circus or a sideshow or a carnival. And it talks very empathetically about the people who live that life. And it's fascinating because it's a life you don't ordinarily see in literature. So again, I would really recommend this. There's some parts of it that are kind of gruesome as they describe the plague and what happens to people, but it's also very entertaining, and you root for the right people. So it's a lot of fun. So if you can get through those kind of squeamish sequences, Magruder's Curiosity Cabinet should provide a solid entertainment. And like I said, it's available in all different formats. So if you want to listen to it while you're driving your car, or do the ebook, you can enjoy it.
It's written for adult audiences?
It's an adult audience. It's definitely adult. There's nothing objectionable, but I think you'd want to be a teen or an adult to really understand everything that's going on. So, okay, we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we are going to talk about Medicare with Jill Rinker, so stay tuned. Thank you, Gage, and again, thank you to the Friends of the Library for sponsoring the show. Quick note, this is the last week of programming for the Summer Reading Club, but the prizes will be available as long as they hold out or until August 19th, whichever comes first.
That's right.
So just if you've done your reading, make sure you drop off your lists at the library very soon.
Yeah, including adults. It's prizes for all ages, and a lot of times adults forget that there's some goodies in there for them, too.
There certainly are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, we are here today with Jill Rinker, who is an insurance specialist with Sourcepoint, and we're going to talk about a program that is coming up at the Orange Branch Library in August. But I think the best place to start is, Jill, can you tell us a little bit about Sourcepoint?
I certainly can, and thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. The library is one of our community partners, and we appreciate being invited in every time we request it.
Absolutely.
It's a yes, so thank you. But anyways, Sourcepoint is a not-for-profit organization. The mission is to help Delaware County residents stay safe and healthy, age 55 and above. If you're a Delaware County resident and are 55, come into the center, you're automatically a member, and membership is free.
Oh, great.
Yes, so you could just stop into the center at 800 Cheshire Road, tell them that you want a Compass, and they'll get you a card and sign you up to be a member.
It's really a beautiful facility. How long have you guys been in this facility? It's been 10-ish years?
I would say 10 years.
Yeah, it's a beautiful facility and right in a really nice area, too.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you do a lot of programming at the center. There's everything. I mean, there's places to hang out, there's food, there's workout, there's art. But your job specifically is you help kind of navigate the insurance world. Can you?
That is correct. So one of the free programs at the center, which there are hundreds of free community programs to 55 and older. We are the insurance department, and we do help folks navigate that Medicare system. I was talking to George, and the thing of it is folks have been told all their life what insurance program to sign up for through their employer.
Right.
So now unfortunately, here we are seniors, but we have to make this very difficult decision about what health care that you want to move forward with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's and you look at the choices and the Medicare A, B, C, D, G, E, F, and it's like, well, you get help. I think I'll just die.
It truly is alphabet soup. So when you would enroll in one of our new to Medicare classes, it is about a 2-hour class, and we are giving a fairly comprehensive overview of what your choices are for Medicare.
So what we have coming up at the Orange Branch Library is we have 2 different classes on the August 2nd at 10 o'clock. We have New to Medicare, and then on August 23rd at the same time we have Find Your Own Plan. Would you recommend starting with the August 2nd New to Medicare class and then following it up with the class on the 23rd?
Absolutely. We would ask that folks do the new to Medicare class first, because we do give such a comprehensive overview that folks are kind of educated about what Medicare is before they start delving into what decision they need to make to move forward. So that new to Medicare class is a prerequisite to having a one-on-one appointment with one of our insurance specialists at the center. We do during peak times, which would be Medicare open enrollment or the general enrollment period. We have other counselors help us at those times because there's only 3 of us there for all of Delaware County senior population, which is growing.
Quite a few of us,
growing leaps and bounds. So we do have some others that help us with that too.
So timing-wise for this class, like George, you kind of mentioned earlier that this might be something that you'll be navigating towards, even though you don't retire until the 30th of September, which, by the way, this is our 10th to the last show. I'm just saying, but I'm really sorry about that. But when you retire on September 30th, would this be something that you would say, like, take this class before you retire so you know a little bit about it?
Absolutely.
So even if you're 55 and you're maybe 10 years away from retirement, you could take it now, just so you have it.
Yes, you can take it at any time, really, 55 or older, but ideally you would want to take it maybe when you're 64 and
within
going
that year
on Medicare, or like George, he has delayed entering into Medicare because he's still working. So ideally, George should sign up now. I hope to see him at Orange.
I've actually signed up for a class. Yes, I have. So.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yes, and this is a pre-registration class, but it's very easy to register. You just go to delawarelibrary.org/event or events, and you'll be able to find this class on start on the 2nd, go to August 2nd, and then just click the register button. You'll be taken right to the link on Sourcepoint's website.
That's right.
Are there any other little kind of like tidbits that you'd love to share while you have the floor about just something that you wish everybody would know that seems to be something that stumps people a lot?
Stay calm.
Yeah.
The consumers that come into our classes, and rightfully so, are very confused, and it's a scary thing to them. But honestly, once you take the class and know what your options are. Once you decide what option you want to go with, then everything else seems to fall into place. And we are there to help you or guide you to make your decision on what route you want to go.
Sort of like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The key is don't panic.
Don't panic. Don't panic. What would be something? Would the participants in the class need to bring anything with them? What would be information that would be good for them to have when they come?
No, they really don't have to bring anything with them.
Their brains.
We provide them with all the materials to take home. We will give a PowerPoint presentation on each step that is needed to take to enroll in Medicare. Now, on the second class, the Fill the Gap class, you may want to bring a laptop or tablet to that class, because we would actually be delving more into the components and picking up rates and costs and things for the folks.
Wow. Okay. That's really comprehensive. That's great.
It's wonderful. Yeah. We're so glad to be partners with Sourcepoint, just in all the things we do. And I did want to mention, we have just introduced last month in July, it was our inaugural edition of what we call the Mature Reader Newsletter. And in the Mature Reader Newsletter, it is a newsletter that we're going to do monthly, specifically for those ages 50 to 55 and older. And we've already talked with our friends at Sourcepoint, and they've given us permission to put some of their programs into that. And so, keep an eye out for that. If you need to sign up, contact us and we'll show you how to sign up. I'm going to put a news block on the homepage of our website, DelawareLibrary.org.
Well, great. Jill, thank you for being here. Thank you for helping people like me sort out the morass, which is Medicare. It's greatly appreciated.
You're welcome.
We've got a couple of things coming up at the library I want to talk about this coming week. I know we've only got about a minute or two left, but we have the last of our drain line puzzle challenges today at the Delaware Main Library. The folks at Emergency Plumbing have just been wonderful on this. I saw Trevor last night at a Chamber of Commerce function, and they're having so much fun with the kids, too. So this is you learn a little bit about plumbing. It's a little bit of a STEM exercise, but you have fun, too. So.
Yeah, and I had to give them a call this week. So, after all that rain we got this weekend, and they know what they're doing.
That's great. That's a good thing that they do. We've got our book clubs are back this week. We're doing the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Society by Marianne Schaefer at Around the World's in Books and Bites.
The longest title of a book in the world.
Absolutely. They're going to be meeting at the Liberty Tavern on Tuesday in Powell for at lunchtime. So you might want to join up for that. That is a pre-registered program. And we also have, this one's great. This is on Monday at Orange. Introduction to Falconry for Teens.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen a falcon show like at the Renaissance Fair or places like that, you know what incredible animals falcons are.
And they still are truly independent. I mean, even though they're saying, kind of like do the cues for go away and come back. We had one during a medieval fair once that didn't want to come back for a while. So he took his time and then he came back.
When he was ready.
Exactly. And we will make a notice that this Monday, July 25th at 9:30 a.m. in the Delaware Main Library, our Board of Trustees are having a special meeting. It is to discuss the employment of a public official. So if you want to be there, you can be there. It is open.
Mm-hmm. And it'll be very brief, though. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And just a note for everybody, Monday, August 8th, we are going to be repaving the parking lots, crack seal and repave at the Delaware Library. So parking will be at the Eagles. We want to thank the Eagles for allowing us to use their lot, which is about a block away, just on the other side of the river from the library. But you might want to plan ahead if you don't want to walk that far to use the library the next day or something. So you won't even be able to get to the book drops because they'll have the whole parking lot roped off. It's just the Delaware Library. The building will be open, but you'll have to be able to
walk a bit.
Else. Yes.
Walk a bit and park somewhere else.
So anyway, again, Jill, thank you so much for being here. Jill Rinker from Sourcepoint, and we're looking forward to those programs at Orange. Nicole, it's always a pleasure.
10th to the last show.
Are we going to really have a countdown like that every week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give it.
All right. Thanks, Gage. And I apologize for leaving because it's going to be dull at the ninth show. All right. And so we will see you in the stacks.